My name is Rachel Miller. I'm 24, and I never expected to find out my college tuition was spent on my brother's wedding. If you've ever felt overlooked or betrayed by your own family, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Like this video and subscribe for more stories like this. I got the email while eating lunch in the corner booth of the campus library cafe. It was short. Final tuition payment not received. Enrollment suspended. I blinked at the screen. My heart stalled. Suspended? Mati. I stared at the message, rereading it as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less cruel. I had been a straight-A student since freshman year. I never missed a payment because I didn't have to. My parents promised they'd cover my entire tuition as long as I maintained my grades. And I did. Every semester. So what happened? Ever blow. I called my mom first. Mom? I just got an email saying my enrollment is suspended. They didn't receive the final tuition payment. She went quiet. Too quiet. Then she sighed. Rachel, we meant to tell you. Tell me what? It's not a big deal, honey. You can just take a gap year. What? My voice cracked. Why would I take a gap year? I'm graduating next spring. Well, we had some unexpected expenses come up. For your brother's wedding. I froze. Wait, what does Jason's wedding have to do with my tuition? Another sigh. We needed to cover the venue deposit, the catering, your father's tux, flights for the out-of-town family. Jason and Lila are starting their life together. They needed support. And I don't? Silence. You're resourceful? She said almost cheerfully. You always find a way. There it was. The family motto. Whenever they failed me, they spun it as a compliment. I hung up. I didn't even cry at first. I just sat there, cold lunch forgotten, watching students walk by with laptops and iced coffees. Normal, stable, funded students. I checked my bank account. It barely had enough for rent. I had nothing saved for this, because I trusted them. Later that night, Jason's fiancée, Lila, posted a photo on Instagram. Thank you to my future in-laws for making this dream possible. They were standing in front of a rose gold sign, Forever Begins Here. I clicked through the photos. There were shots of the dress fitting, the cake tasting, even a custom neon sign for the reception, J+L Est 2024. The caption underneath it all read, "Wouldn't have been possible without Mom and Dad's incredible support." My stomach flipped. I texted my dad. No response. I called him, straight to voicemail. That night, I wrote an email to the registrar begging for an extension, but policies were policies. Without payment, I was out. And I knew the worst part. My parents wouldn't help. Not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't. The next morning, I showed up at their house. It was quiet. Jason's wedding invitations were stacked neatly on the dining table, gold embossed and ribbon-tied. My mom walked in, startled. Rachel, what are you doing here? I need answers, I said calmly. Did you use my tuition money for Jason's wedding? Her face fell. Then she straightened. It's complicated. It's not. Yes or no. She folded her arms. Jason needed us. He and Lila are building a future. So was I. You can take a break. You'll figure it out. My dad entered the room mid-conversation. You're blowing this out of proportion, he said. Jason's wedding is one day. You've got your whole life ahead of you. And you just spent part of it, I snapped. They didn't apologize. Not once. They just told me to be understanding, that I'd bounce back. My mom actually said, don't make this about money. We've done so much for you. I left that day with nothing but clarity. They'd never see me as a priority. Not unless I made them. I walked down their driveway and made myself a promise. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to rise, quietly. And when the time came, they'd know. The thing about betrayal is, it rarely shows up out of nowhere. It's a pattern, a rhythm, a slow erosion of trust, dressed up as tradition or love. And when you grow up inside it, you don't always see it clearly. Not until it costs you something you can't replace. Like your future. Looking back, I should have known the day I got a science kit for Christmas and Jason got a telescope an Xbox, and a camping trip with Dad. He was 9, I was 11, but somehow he was the golden one. Always. When he failed a math test, Dad said, "He's just not academic, but he's got leadership in him." When I came second in the county spelling bee, Mom said, "You shouldn't be so obsessed with winning. It's not healthy." Every family photo told the same story. Jason front and center, smiling wide. Me, off to the side, half-shadowed. I wasn't invisible. I was background. By the time we were teenagers, it was a running joke in our house that Rachel's the reliable one. It meant I didn't get picked for the fun stuff. It meant I handled chores, errands, and emotional cleanup. Jason wrecked Dad's car at 16. He got a boys will be boys speech and a new used sedan. I got my license a year later and was told, "You'll have to work for yours. That's how you build character." So I worked. Through high school, through every break in college. I stacked shelves, walked dogs, and worked reception at a dentist's office. I budgeted everything, applied for grants, shared textbooks, ate cup noodles when meal plans ran out. I covered my phone bill, gas, and eventually rent because Jason was planning a future and needed the basement apartment to save. But none of that hurt as much as my 18th birthday. They forgot it. Completely. I'd come home from campus that weekend, bought myself a cupcake from a grocery store, and waited all night for someone to say something. Anything. At 11:58 p.m., Jason barged in and asked if he could borrow my car. I gave him the keys. I always did. The next morning, Mom posted a Facebook photo from a brunch they all went to. Jason, Dad, Mom, and Lila. Caption, "Family Day, just missing Rachel. Always so busy." I wasn't busy. I was upstairs, in the same house, and no one had knocked. I'd buried that moment for years, told myself it didn't matter, that I didn't need the spotlight. That love didn't have to look equal to be real. But now I saw it for what it was. A comma system. A quiet, well-oiled machine of favoritism, excuses, and erasure. The week after they spent my tuition on Jason's wedding, I moved out of my apartment. I couldn't afford to stay. I couch surfed for 2 months, slept on friends' futons, studied in libraries, and picked up 2 waitressing jobs. At night, I'd lie on borrowed pillows and replay every moment they called me selfish for asking for fairness. Every time they called Jason special. Every time they looked right through me. But something else burned hotter. Resolve. I wasn't going to beg for scraps anymore. I applied for every scholarship still open. Found a tech boot camp that offered a deferred tuition model. You only paid once you got a job. I didn't sleep much those weeks, but I coded like my life depended on it. Because it did. And every time I wanted to quit, I remembered Lila's rose gold wedding invites, the custom champagne tower, the way my mom had said Jason needed it more. They didn't know it, but they gave me something valuable that day. A clean break. No more illusions. No more hoping they'd change. Only fire. And focus. What I didn't know yet, though, was just how far they were willing to go to protect Jason's spotlight, and how soon I'd be forced to confront just how little I ever meant to them. 6 months after losing my tuition and clawing my way through the tech boot camp, I landed my first job. It wasn't flashy, entry-level back-end work for a logistics startup, but it paid $78,000. That first direct deposit hit my account and I sat in stunned silence, staring at the screen. It was more money than I'd ever seen at once. More importantly, it was mine. No strings, no explanations, no Jason. I didn't tell my family. I didn't post about it. I just worked and saved. By the end of the first year, I'd moved into a studio apartment with good lighting and terrible neighbors, but it was mine too. I bought myself flowers every Friday and cooked pasta on Sundays like a ritual. It was the first time I'd felt peace. And then came the text. We're having a little get-together at the house Saturday. Just family. Would love for you to stop by. Just family. The same phrase they'd used when they canceled my graduation dinner. The same phrase I saw on Jason and Lila's wedding RSVP list, my name notably absent. Still, curiosity won. I went. The house looked the same from the outside. White shutters, 2 lawn chairs no one ever used, the faded mailbox Jason once hit with a baseball bat. Inside, it was loud. Jason was there, holding court in the living room, flanked by Lila and a few of their friends. Dad had barbecue tongs in hand, laughing like it was a holiday. And Mom, too. She greeted me like nothing had happened. "Rachel, you look so good. Is that a new coat?" I nodded stiffly. "Come in, grab a plate. Jason just got a promotion." Of course he did. They didn't ask where I lived. They didn't ask if I went back to school. Just handed me a plastic cup and motioned toward the snack table. I should have left. Instead, I sat on the edge of the conversation, half listening to Jason recount how tough it was, juggling married life and being a boss. At one point, Dad clapped him on the back and said, "We've always known you'd be the one to go far." I laughed. Out loud, everyone looked at me. Mom's eyes narrowed. "Something funny?" I stood, just wondering when I get my refund. Silence. Jason tilted his head. "What refund?" "The tuition money you all spent on your wedding." Mom stiffened. "We already talked about this." "No, you talked. I got kicked out of school and slept on couches while you bought matching slippers for Lila's bridesmaids." Lila turned red. Jason looked annoyed. "You always make everything about you." I stepped forward. "No, Jason, you just expect everything to be about you. Your dreams, your milestones, your problems. And Mom and Dad made sure you never had to face a single consequence." Dad put down his drink. "We're not doing this here." "Of course not," I said, voice steady. "You only do celebrations, not accountability." Jason muttered, "You need therapy." "Already in it," I said, "paid for with my own money." Mom's voice cracked like ice. "You've changed." "No," I said. I finally saw the truth, and I walked out. No crying, no shouting, just clarity. That night, I deleted our group chat, changed my emergency contact, removed my parents from my health insurance plan. It was time. They'd cut me loose years ago. I was just catching up. 2 years later, I saw the listing online. It was subtle. No flashy banner, just a simple photo of my childhood home. White shutters, 2 lawn chairs, same battered mailbox. "For sale by owner." My heart stuttered. I clicked. There it was. The address, the asking price, and below that, serious inquiries only. I hadn't spoken to my parents in 18 months. Not after the barbecue. Not after my quiet exit from their lives. I'd gone on to take a job with a fast-growing AI firm. Built 2 side income streams, launched a SaaS product with 2 colleagues. By 27, I had a 6-figure savings account and 0 debt. But I never imagined this moment. The house, their house, up for sale. I could have closed the tab. I could have walked away. But I didn't. Instead, I made a call. To my lawyer. "Can you buy this property under a holding company?" I asked. She didn't even flinch. "Absolutely. We'll keep your name out of it until closing." 3 weeks later, the paperwork was signed. Paid in full. No mortgage. Just a wire transfer and a quiet signature. The sellers never met me. They didn't recognize the buyer name. And why would they? The LLC sounded like a boring real estate firm. Not their daughter. Not the girl they tossed aside for a champagne fountain and a Pinterest-perfect wedding. The keys arrived in a plain envelope. I held them for a long time before driving over. The lawn was overgrown. The siding needed a power wash. But it was still mine. Legally. Quietly. Entirely. I didn't tell anyone for weeks. Not until I got the call. It was my mother. "Rachel?" I didn't know who else to call. "We've had some complications with the buyers. They want to make changes to the property. We were hoping we could rent back for a while, just until we find a place." I let the silence stretch. Then I said, "Let me get back to you." I hung up and called my lawyer again. "No tenancy extensions," I said. She paused. "Understood." "Want me to send the official letter?" "Yes, and include this line. The buyer is not open to personal arrangements." She chuckled softly. Message received. 2 days later, Mom called again. This time, her voice was quieter. You bought it, didn't you? I didn't answer. You're punishing us, she whispered. No, I said. You already punished me. I'm just reclaiming the space you threw me out of. She started crying. I just don't understand what happened to our family. I almost laughed. What happened? You did. You chose Jason's future over mine, again and again. You spent what wasn't yours and called it love. Silence. I want to come home, she said. You sold it, I replied. And I hung up. That night, I drove to the house, sat in the driveway for an hour. I didn't need revenge. I just needed release. I walked inside, barefoot, and let the silence wash over me. The quiet never felt so loud, but for the first time in my life, it belonged to me. I didn't move into the house right away. For weeks, I just visited. I'd sit on the floor of the empty living room, sipping tea, letting the quiet settle like dust in the corners. No arguments, no backhanded compliments, no invisible daughter routine. Just me. And the echo of every version of myself that had once felt small here. Sometimes I'd close my eyes and see it. 12-year-old me baking cookies alone in the kitchen because Jason's football game ran long and no one remembered to pick me up from rehearsal. Or 16-year-old me listening to college admissions news on speakerphone while Dad flipped through Jason's internship papers and barely looked up. I didn't hate them. Not really. I just didn't need them anymore. I think that's what scared them. About a month after the sale closed, I got a letter. No return address. But I knew the handwriting. My mother's. Rachel, we know we made mistakes. You've always been strong, but maybe we took advantage of that strength. We're not asking for money or favors. We just want to talk. Please call us. Or write back. Or anything. Love, Mom and Dad. There was no apology. Just noise. A plea for comfort from the very people who once watched me unravel and said, "You'll figure it out." I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer in the old hall cabinet. Didn't burn it. Didn't respond. Some ghosts deserve a quiet shelf, not an exorcism. Meanwhile, life moved on. I renovated the kitchen, painted the walls white, replaced the porch chairs with soft teal ones I picked myself. And then something unexpected happened. A neighbor knocked. She was old, kind-eyed, held a pie like a scene out of a movie. "You're the new owner?" I nodded. She smiled. "I always wondered when you'd come back." I blinked. "You knew who I was?" She nodded. "Heard enough over the years. Watched enough too. Quiet girl, always responsible." I didn't know what to say. She handed me the pie. "Glad to see the house went to the right child." That night, I cried harder than I had in years, not out of pain, but relief. Somebody saw me. Really saw me. And maybe that's all I ever wanted. Time didn't heal everything. But it gave me distance. And from that distance, I could finally see my parents for what they were. Not monsters, not villains, just people. Flawed, scared, and selfish in ways they never admitted. Jason reached out next. A text. "Jason, heard you bought the house. Bold move, LOL. Didn't think you'd go that far." I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to hurt him, but because I was done playing the second-string sister in his one-man show. Still, curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked on his profile. Lila was pregnant. They were having a girl. And the caption under the gender reveal post said, "Can't wait to raise her the way we weren't." That line stayed with me. Not because it absolved anything, but because maybe he finally saw it too. What they did, what they allowed. I closed the app and opened my journal. Wrote down everything I wanted to let go of. Every unspoken birthday. Every snide comment about me being too sensitive. Every time they said, "We did our best," when it clearly wasn't true. I let the ink run until my hand ached. Then I shut the cover and placed it on the top shelf of my new bookshelf, one I built myself. No one clapped when I finished it. No one posted about it, but it was mine, fully mine. That spring, I started volunteering at a mentorship program for teen girls in foster care. One of them, Alicia, reminded me of myself. Sharp-tongued, guarded, always watching the room before entering it. We bonded over tech and code. Eventually, she asked me, "Did your family hurt you too?" I didn't know how to answer, so I just said, "They underestimated me." She smiled. "Mine too." Sometimes, healing comes in moments like that. Not in grand speeches or reunions, but quiet nods from strangers who understand without needing the details. By the time summer rolled around, I had hosted my first dinner party in the house. 5 friends, homemade pasta, music that played soft and low. At one point, someone toasted, "To Rachel, for building something out of nothing." I looked around the room. No parents, no Jason. And still, it felt full, more than it ever had. That night, I stepped out onto the porch, looked up at the stars, and whispered, "I made it." Not loud, just enough for the wind to carry it forward. I didn't need closure from them anymore, not the kind that comes with dramatic apologies or tearful reunions. I found my closure in quiet moments. Like the Saturday mornings I spent tending the small garden I planted in the backyard. Or the way the sunlight hit the living room floor just right, spilling in like grace over old wounds. One afternoon, I received another letter, this time from a cousin I barely knew. "Hey Rachel, I heard what happened. About the house. About everything. I just want you to know, you weren't crazy. A lot of us saw it. We just didn't know what to do. Proud of you. It didn't fix anything. But it meant something. Because when you grow up dismissed, you start to doubt your memory. You start to believe maybe it really was you all along. Turns out, it wasn't. And I wasn't alone. That realization was a kind of freedom. I didn't erase the past, but I stopped carrying it like punishment. Instead, I built around it. Layered joy on top of grief. Choice over obligation. And power over silence. Years later, I was asked to give a talk at a Women in Tech panel. The host introduced me as Rachel Miller, founder, engineer, investor, and one of the most quietly powerful people I've ever met. Quietly powerful. It landed deeper than any award. Because it reminded me of the strength I found in stillness, in not fighting to be seen, but creating spaces that couldn't be ignored. After the panel, a young woman came up to me and said, "You remind me of someone I want to become." I smiled, and for the first time, I truly believed I already had. Have you ever had to walk away from people you once called family? Drop your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about reclaiming your power. Send this to someone who needs to know they're not alone.